All right, I show it's 4:30. Why don't we get started? Call this meeting to order. And if the clerk could call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bunting.
Present.
Commissioner Lumberman.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Bailey.
I am here and currently in Grand Marais, Michigan.
You forgot to take us with you.
Well, there's only so much room, Jan. There's only so much room.
All righty. Commissioner Lemmerman, if you could lead us into prayer tonight again.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you would peacefully unite us on the decisions and the things that we have to look over tonight, and that you would bless this meeting. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen. We stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, born and unborn. All righty. I believe we have two things to add to the agenda. Under new business, Tracy's going to give us a presentation on the final opinion and judgment from the court on the windmills.
Actually,
So let's make that.
Commissioner Bailey, I can just tell you what I know in my administrator's report. And
Okay, I
then
was wondering about that. Okay, great. We'll just handle it there. And then there was an omission. We have to go into the finance meeting after L. And that should be on the agenda. Anyone have anything else to add? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Bunting, second.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lemmerman. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. So we have an agenda. And Matt, you see anybody on for public comment?
I do see one person that would like to make.
Okay,
public
yes.
comment.
Sir, if you could unmute yourself and go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Carl Roof. I'm a chairman of the board of Saginaw County Board of Commissioners, and I'm just pleased to come here to the Gratiot County Board of Commissioners and give you kind of briefly update on what's been going on with Michigan Works and the interlocutor agreement between the counties and stuff. Just kind of quickly, I know there's been a lot of data going out and a lot of confusion, and we're still in that conflict issue going on right now. First of all and foremost, just want to say that there is no illegal funding or any issues been done by Michigan Works with Saginaw County at all at this point in time. But I will give you a quick summary. The interlocutor agreement between, as you know, the Gratiot, Midland, Isabel County, and Bay County, the interlocutor agreement ends every 5 or 6 years, if I remember correctly, and it'll end this year. Our present CEO, Chris Risco, is wanted to look at moving away from Saginaw County as our interlocutor agreement and handling the pass-through of the funds. We've been doing this for about 50 years now. So, well, in that process, there's been some communication going on in regards to the Saginaw Board of Commissioners do not support separating, and there are some other counties don't support separating. There are some counties that do. And so we are in the middle of discussion, trying to figure this process out between now and September when the interlocutor agreement expires. But I just want to share there's no cost factor, there's no suits, anything towards Gratiot, Isabella County, or either Bay or Midland County at this point in time. The problem is that there's been so much small communication that everybody hasn't got the clear picture of what's taking place on it. And I think the statement that I read when I received the email saying that Saginaw County has been filed charges or approved or accused of some money mislanding. In our audit, that is not true. The biggest problem is, as you know, if you go through any divorce or separation, there's some conflict going on and poor communication. Presently, we still have a meeting coming up this month in regards to looking at that issue. One of the things that the CEO wanted to do was to go out and look at opportunities or facility to take over that agreement and move away from the county. Well, he went out and the number of those places did not accept, Saginaw Valley State University did not accept being the fiduciary for. So the other step he wanted to look at was trying to become a nonprofit. In order to be a nonprofit, to try to get some additional funds other than the federal funds that come into Michigan Works. We are presently now beginning to look at how can we work this process out with them being, trying to get some additional funds at the same time, stay at the point with Saginaw County being the fiduciary. That is the battle that's going on right now. And has anything been finalized at this point in time? And we know that when we get that cleared up between now and between September, we will make sure that each county that has the Michigan Works program get a clear information and clear data on what's going on. So I just want to come on and just share at this point in time, there's no charges, anything been put out there or by Saginaw County in regards to Michigan Works. We have been working clearly and smoothly with them for a number of years on there. Again, we're just in the middle of trying to clarify that process. And there's no legal battles, anything that's been going, lawsuits, anything been filed or any of that nature. It's just communication. Sometimes communication do not get out clearly. And so I just want to come to y'all, Board of Commissioners, let you know, because we are been the main fiduciary for Michigan Works for the last few years and give you that reinforcement there. Right now, we're still in communication process. Thank you.
All righty, thank you very much. And
Hi, Carol, too.
hopefully one of these days you can meet in person. We can get rid of this Zoom stuff.
Yes. When I see some of y'all meeting in person, we have just started briefly meeting in person and Zoom at the same time. But things are looking good for the state. And so I'm confident that we will all be back to that personalized. I think Zoom is great. I learned a lot of things since we've been in Zoom. One of the advantages about Zoom, you're able to get to other meetings without having to travel at a much quicker time. Again, thank you very much, and y'all enjoy your meeting and have a good weekend.
Carl, before you go, Chairman, may I ask Carl a question?
Yep, go ahead, George.
We can't hear you very much.
Carl,
Can you?
there was, Carl, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that it's been rumored that Gratiot County could be on the hook for about $1 million in this whole thing. Is there any truth to that?
As far as I know at this point in time, no, there's nobody on the hook for anything at this point in time. And that's why I said communication has been thrown out, because once you started this separation process, there was different counties and different things coming out both sides on there. But we was trying to keep it at a smooth level and that nothing can anybody be liable for anything at this point in time.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if anything pop up that's unclear, I'll make sure that I get back directly to you.
Yeah, that would be that would be nice if you would keep in contact. That would be good.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Have a good evening.
Same here.
All righty, we'll move on. The consent calendar. Anyone have anything they want to separate and talk about?
We accept the consent calendar.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, we accept the consent calendar. A second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's see, I think we'll have to do roll call tonight. So if the clerk could call the roll.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. And then, so We're moving on. The administrator's report. Tracy, you're up.
Sure. Hello, everyone. The department reports are attached in your packet. I've added a report this time from the Parks Department. Because their season was just getting going last month, the information that you have does not reflect a full month of activity. The report for June that you will get next month will be more comprehensive. The elected officials compensation work group. The work group has completed its work in formulating recommendations for elected officials' wages for the upcoming fiscal year. I sent the results to the elected officials yesterday so that they can have an opportunity to review these and to comment, perhaps to me. I've invited that. I plan to submit these as recommendations to you for review at your next meeting, which will be July 6th. The electeds will certainly be welcome to come and address you, of course. I will include for you a compilation of any comments that I do receive between now and July 6th. As Chuck mentioned, and as you know, I forwarded to you yesterday the opinion from the tax tribunal on our wind turbine tax litigation. That case was tried over 20 months ago. I forwarded the opinion to you so that you could begin dissecting the 156 pages of figures and numbers. Now, if you are at all like Chris or me, you can read this thing and really not have too solid an idea of actually what it says, other than quite sure it really did not go our way. I have meetings scheduled this week. The MREC, Michigan Renewable Energy Collaborative, the MREC, board, of which I'm a member, and our attorneys on Wednesday and Friday of this week. We'll begin talking about this opinion, what it says, what it means, what the reasoning was, what next steps might be, and I'll report back to you. I want to remind you that the cases that were tried were not Gratiot County cases, so there's no immediate response required of us as a result of the opinion in this case. However, all other cases in the state, including ours, were stayed until the Siegel case was decided. DTE got the word about this, of course they'd be following this, and they filed 29 cases with our county clerk yesterday. So we're in the ball game here, as are all of the other local governmental units. So I'll be passing those along to the MREC legal counsel, and again, I'll keep you posted. Now, on the legislative front, we do have a bill introduced on the Senate side. I'd mentioned that to you at the last meeting. A group of MREC members met with Senator Horn last Monday. We left that meeting feeling pretty sure that it isn't going to get out of his committee. It's not going to go anywhere on that side. However, we met with Representative Pat Outman last Wednesday, and he expressed considerable willingness to sponsor the bill on the House side. We have not spoken with him or had contact, to my knowledge, since this opinion issued. I might learn otherwise during the meeting tomorrow, but that's my knowledge to date. So there is much to analyze and digest. So again, I'll keep you updated as we sort through all of this. So much simpler, it seems. Capital improvements planning. The usual suspects, that's our Department of Community Development staff, our IT project supervisor, the jail administrator, the financial administrator, and our procurement officer. We will be meeting next Tuesday to review capital improvement project ideas for the upcoming probably 3 fiscal years. This document has historically been presented to you for review, then is included in the budget that you approve each year. So I've also sent an email to all staff asking them to submit any needs or projects they've identified. So the word is out, and we would expect to get together next Tuesday, that's June 22nd, and make quite a lot of progress in identifying projects that we should budget for. So And then, of course, there are all the other odds and ends that go on every day, but this covers the largest issues at this point. So thanks for your attention.
Ready? Any questions for Tracy? So I think you, if I heard you right, Tracy, you're going to be having meetings this week with the council, with our lawyers, and be able to have more idea of what all this means.
That's correct. The MREC board, of which I am a member, and our legal counsel are meeting on Wednesday and Friday.
Okay, great. All righty. Any other questions?
This is George. Tracy, did I read a memo or something that some restrictions are going to be eased slightly for the county as far as staff entering the building?
Yes, staff that are vaccinated, and this was effective yesterday. First of all, let me say that when these decisions are made, when we review these things, we do review not just statewide data, but also Gratiot County data. And that becomes important because, and particularly this time around, because the rate of vaccination is much lower in Gratiot County than it is statewide. Also, I consult with the sheriff and with Jennifer Wood on the court side. So we get the very best thinking on this. What we did as of yesterday is we are inviting staff who have not been vaccinated to not go through the complete health screening when they come in the door. We do ask them to continue to have their temperature taken, but they do not need to complete the health screening. We're asking staff to continue to wear their masks in common areas. And since the beginning, we have left it up to department heads to decide with their staff whether they want staff to wear masks right there in the work area. Members of the public coming into the building, because we do not know who is vaccinated and who isn't, we're asking, nor do we know who they've had contact with. We are asking members of the public for now to continue to go through the health screening and to wear masks. So we are, I fully expect that some of the mask requirements will ease. Again, we're doing this based on rates of vaccination, rates of infection, and so forth. And that's where we are for now.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Tracy. Let's move on. Commissioner committee reports. Commissioner Lemmerman, I'll go this way around.
Not really anything to report. There hasn't been another airport committee meeting. We got Parks and Rec tomorrow night. One thing that I probably need clarification on, at the Arcata Township meeting, I talked about the funds that we passed a resolution on at the last meeting, the funds from 2004 to 2014, the shortfall. And the township wondered if they had a shortfall and if they would be getting funds also. And I said, I don't know, but I can check. And I don't know if Chris is on already. Yes, he is. Hi,
Yep, I can
Chris.
talk to that real quick if you'd like me to.
Yes, I would.
Okay. Now, it was only the counties that were shorted by the state. It was not this. The cities and townships still received their full amount of revenue sharing during that time.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Only thing I have is I've been working with a lot of community members, trying to organize some opposition to these male minor illegals that they're proposing to house in Alma. So I've been working with a lot of community members. We had a big organizing meeting last night. About 50 people showed up. So, Commissioner Bunning?
Yes, I have a question for Commissioner Lambert. What time is that meeting at Parks and Recs? And is it in Reed Park?
I believe it's 5:30 tomorrow.
5:30?
Yeah,
Okay. And it's still at Reed Park?
yeah.
Okay, I'd had a meeting, or I went to Wheeler Township and Bethany Township. I have people from Wheeler that want to go to the Parks meeting.
It's on the county website.
Yeah, I've told them that, but I told them I'd still ask you because you get the,
I'm actually going to the website and clicking on it just to make sure. Yeah, 5:30 to 7:30.
30. Okay,
Now, this says it's going to be at the Alma Public Library. So consider if the Alma Public Library is opened up, I would think it is because we've met there in the past.
what did your packet say?
I haven't even opened it yet. The packet's at home.
Okay, if you could let me know, because I hate to send them one place when it's somewhere
Right.
else.
Okay.
And that's the reason I asked, because sometimes on the website, maybe it's not the same as what you get in your packet. So, okay, so I better tell them the Alma Library maybe?
I'll open that up when I get home.
Okay, thanks. Okay, other than that, I'm done.
Thanks, Jan. Commissioner Smith?
Met with 3 townships here in the last 3 days, and Fulton's laying low asphalt down on Alger Road. And, Sumner Township didn't know anything about the American recovery funds that are available out there. So I got a link off the website. I got Chris, but I got him late, but I got a link off the website, sent him up to the clerk. She's got their DB number and stuff so they can get around and apply for that. In Newark Township, there's not a lot going on there. They're just kind of rolling along, getting ready to gravel some roads and spray them or something. That's about it.
All righty, thank you. Commissioner Bailey?
We had our yearly financial budget meeting for the library, my goodness, health department. And the health department is looking strong and they're doing well. So that, I think we're in good hands there. We will be looking for a new CEO, if you will. Marcus Cheatham is going to retire. And so we are looking for a replacement for him. There's a committee that's been formed and they are looking into that. I've had occasion to speak with Emerson Township and Lafayette Township and Hamilton Township supervisors. All is going well with them. They had an incident in Emerson Township with some garbage, and I got them in contact with Liz at the health department, and that's been started to get cleaned up. Justin Stoneman has got some inquiries on some people that may want to grow some marijuana in his township. He's working on that. And Tommy Clark of Hamilton Township is just getting his feet wet because he's brand new, and so is his whole staff. So they've been going through it, and I told them anything I can do to help, that's fine. So that's all I got to report.
All righty, thank you, George.
I've got one other question. At the Arcata Township meeting, they had some concern about legislation. They called it sand gravel legislation. And this is something that I wasn't aware of, where the power for townships to determine load limits was going to be taken away and be centralized in the state.
Right.
As you've heard about that, George?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Has it passed already?
Yeah, well, I believe it did.
Yeah.
I can't remember the Senate bill number, but it did pass. Now,
Yes.
I don't know if that went to the governor yet or not, but that has passed. So that's all I can tell you.
Did I basically capture the idea that the
Well,
power is being
yeah.
taken away?
Exactly. The township will no longer be able to, by ordinance, do anything with a sand and gravel mined, if you will. That's what they do. They mine it out. and it'll be run through Eagle.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
thank you.
Yeah, I was up on that because, out in Arcata Township over by Ely Highway there, they've had some big issues over there, and I was kind of
Yeah.
interested in what's going on there. So, yeah. Yep.
All righty, let's move on to new business. District Court, in front of the court. Jennifer online. There she is.
I am. Good evening. I'm here for two different issues this evening. The first one being for district court. I'm here to ask for the board's consent and permission for the chairman to sign regarding our specialty court grants. We've had these grants for several years now. They bring in over $500,000 to the county to provide services for our Mid-Michigan Mental Health Court, as well as our Michigan Drug Grant Program, which is our sobriety court. And it's time for us to apply for those grants again. Currently, for the mental health court, we get $315,000, and for the sobriety court, we get $238,000. Those are regional programs, so it doesn't, we serve more than just Gratiot County, but those grants are 100% reimbursed by the state. So the county does not provide any funds for those. They do provide in kind as far as having office space for our staff. But I need to have the board's permission to apply for those grants again this year. And then I'd also like permission to have the chairman available to sign any documents in order for us to both apply for and execute the grants.
This
All
has
righty,
been
Jennifer,
past
you have those documents here tonight, or?
I do not. It's a short
Okay.
turnaround time. We'll have them by June 30th for your signature.
Okay, real good. All righty. And you want a motion on that?
Yes, please.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Smith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lemmerman. Any discussion? George, did you have something? I think I cut you off.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, all right.
Good.
All righty, any discussion on that? Clerk will please call the roll.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. And then you had another motion. or
I do,
another-
yes, thank you. For the friend of the court, I'm asking for approval of the MGT contract. That is a company that we contract with and have for several years. They help keep us on track and make sure, monitor our Title 4D grant. That's the child support money that the county gets in at about 67% reimbursement for any staff at the front of the court that's providing child support services. So we contract with MGT and they handle all of the details and the monitoring to make sure that we're utilizing the fund at the maximum that's available to us. It would begin as soon as it's signed, and it runs through completion of the return of any of the money that they're monitoring. And it's approximately $6,000 for their services per year, which is eligible for the 67% return. So the county pays a few $1,000s.
All righty, any questions on that? We're looking for a motion there also. Moved by Commissioner Smith. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? Clerk will please call the roll.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Oops. Motion passed.
Thank you all for your support. I just had one other quick informational piece. I just wanted to give the board the information that the Title 4D contract is coming to an end at the end of this fiscal year. So I'll be back in a couple months for your permission and signature to sign a 2-year amendment to that. That deals with our child support 67% reimbursement from the federal government. The reason I wanted to just bring it up is to just let you know that we may, in the interim, need to work with the chairman to get him set up on the eGram system, which is how we do our billing. And we'll need his signature in order for the amendment. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that that's coming, and that in the interim, we may be needing to get that set up. But that's just informational. I don't need you guys to make any movements on that today.
Okay, very good. And the second motion that we passed, we have documents here for me to sign?
Yes, I believe I included that.
We
with the
do.
packet.
Okay, very good.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
All righty. Next, we're having it says discussion of process for distributing funds under the American Rescue Plan.
Mr. Murphy, there
This is the
are
standing one, right? I believe we've done some things on this.
Mr. Chair, there are a number of items that appear there under K2. I'd like to kind of bunch them together and roll from one to the next because
Okay, it's on the backside. Gotcha.
so if I might. In a moment, I'll offer additional ideas about process and criteria for applying our ARP funds. I was asked by, I believe you, Mr. Chair, to formulate and present some ideas. But before I get to that, I'd like to offer another report on the most recent meeting between myself, the city managers, and Kevin Beeson, who was representing the townships. In short, referred to as the managers meeting. We had initially met around the idea of broadband and exploring that as a collaborative project, and I reported that on that to you in past meetings. But at each meeting also, I raised the issue of what other issues might there be out there for collaboration, and those discussions continue also. But of course, the broadband issue is one that does involve everyone in the county. And of course, there's that issue of the last mile, which is the toughest part. Now, none of the managers really had any real understanding of what it would take to run broadband throughout the county, particularly to that last mile. And certainly we just didn't know what the next steps might be. I also learned, and I had reported to you, that each of the cities is getting wired at no expense to the cities, although I learned today that Ithaca is being held up a little bit in that process. But to educate ourselves, Matt Schooley arranged for two folks to attend our meeting. And I explained this process and made an ask to you in a memorandum that I included in your packets. But Dan Manning, one of the two folks who met with us at the managers meeting to explain all of this, is here this evening. And Dan Manning is with Connected Nation. And it's Dan that talked with us about this assessment that can be done. And I had asked him to appear tonight to answer any additional questions that you might have about this proposal. Two things. First, in the memorandum, I asked or suggested that the project could cost up to $60,000. I've had subsequent communication with Mr. Manning, who believes this could easily be done for under $52,000. So that's point number one. Second, what we're looking for here, Mr. Manning will describe in greater detail, an assessment of Gratiot County. It would help us to better understand where do we have broadband, where do we not have broadband, where do we need it, and what might it take to complete the project here. And again, I hope that that was sufficiently described in the memo. Sorry, I have too many devices in my life. It's an assessment. Mr. Manning, if you would please describe what that process is, what the assessment is, but also what it would bring to us and what the benefits would be for us as we currently sit here in Gratiot County.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be glad to speak to that a little bit, and thanks for having me here this evening. Again, I'm with Connect Michigan, Connected Nation Michigan. We go by a couple different names, but we're essentially a nonprofit that works on broadband-related issues across the state, and are part of a larger organization called Connected Nation, which is our parent organization, a national nonprofit. But we work with communities. I, in particular, work with communities in the southern half of the state of Michigan. I have a partner that works in the northern half. And over the past several years, we've been doing this now for the last about 9.5, 10 years. We've worked with several of the counties, probably 50 or 60 of the counties, to go through this assessment process, which gives you really a good way to understand a little bit better about where the true needs are for the residents and the businesses across your county, in terms of by understanding a little bit more about what their current connectivity looks like, what kind of speeds they're receiving, who their providers are, what their satisfaction level is with what they have, how they're using broadband and the internet today, what kind of applications that they're using, and so on. So over the years, we've developed and refined this process of gathering a lot of data at the ground roots level from residents and local businesses to ask those kinds of questions through a series of surveys that we've developed and refined over time. So this assessment process that we're talking about here, that I had the chance to talk to Tracy and the rest of the team about, was really to go out and administer these surveys that we've developed. There's one primary survey that goes to residents. We have a separate survey to go to businesses. And then we have 7 other surveys that are optional for you to use, pick and choose as you see fit within the county, that go to K-12 organizations, higher education organizations, healthcare organizations, local governments, libraries and community organizations, agricultural organizations as well. So we're trying to get input from all of these different groups, because they all may have some specific needs that need to be addressed. So this assessment is basically the conduction of these surveys that we offer. And the way it's done is it's administered primarily through an online portal. A little bit ironic there, but we do make the surveys available in hard copy as well for anybody that doesn't have access or can't get access online to take the surveys. They're also available through mobile phones, so you can take the survey through the smartphone, but essentially asks a series of questions about each individual's or each household's use of broadband. Again, providers, speeds, a number of those kinds of questions, so that we understand more definitively where the need is across the county and where it's not. You may be familiar, there are some broadband coverage maps that have been developed by the FCC that we have a hand in refining and trying to make those more accurate. That's one way to look at what the coverage currently looks like across Gratiot County, but we know it's not as accurate as we'd like it to be. So we typically use these surveys to supplement the maps to give us a more clear picture of where that need is. So that's the benefit of it overall, is to give you a clearer picture of what the demand and need is for broadband across your county. And again, the way that we conduct this is by administering the survey. We would put together a small team to start with. There, typically we'll have a representative from the county government, somebody from economic development, say Greater Gratiot Development, to be part of that team, and maybe a couple other folks that can help us with communicating and promoting the surveys and making people aware of the fact that those surveys exist, and encourage people to take those surveys. So we would need access to email distribution lists. We will do press releases. We will do advertisements and work through the media in order to help promote the surveys. And then we'll go through a period of probably 4 to 6 weeks to leave that survey window open to gather this data and get feedback then from, again, residents, businesses, and all these other organizations that I mentioned, so that we've got a good base of data to work with. Our team will then spend the next couple of weeks analyzing that data, cleaning it up. Sometimes we'll end up with duplicate surveys. We'll go through and clean some of that out. Some of them may be incomplete surveys, get it down to a point where we've got a good base of data to use, and then we'll generate a series of reports, major findings that come out of that, conclusions in terms of where the need is, what the key issues are across the county, who all your providers are, by the way, which is a key part of this. And a lot of those broadband providers that are currently in the county will be involved in this process as well. They're invited to all of our meetings and our Zoom calls, however we decide to hold those meetings, to checkpoint along the way. So it'll help with that. So the end result of it is you'll get an assessment that shows, again, where the broadband need is, where the demand is, who's using it today, who's not, what are the reasons why. And then we'll provide a number of recommendations to help you with the next steps going forward as to how to now engage with the local providers and figure out how we're going to address those needs, maybe fill some of those holes across the county where there's currently a lack of service or any other broadband related issues that come up. So that's kind of the overall process in a nutshell. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I want to emphasize that having this assessment done does not commit us to doing a broadband project. It only helps us to gain a clearer picture of what the need is and where the need is and where the greatest need is. And I would suggest to you that having this kind of information is an essential step before launching into such a project, a huge project like broadband. So there's that piece. I would just finish by saying that the managers on the managers team were uniformly in support of this, unanimously in support of this. I had offered to bring it to this board for an expenditure from the county's ARP fund, simply because this would be an assessment, a county-wide assessment, and broadband ultimately would be a county-wide project and benefit. So the city managers are in favor of it. I thought it was appropriate for county funds and to bring it to you. So that's why you're hearing this lengthy dissertation on broadband and broadband assessments this evening. If you're willing to, what you would be doing if you are so inclined is to make a motion to approve up to $52,000 for the performance of this assessment or not, but that clearly articulates what we're recommending to you.
Alrighty, one question, Dan, how many surveys are you projecting to get?
That's a great question. Yeah, typically we try to get somewhere in the 5% of households range. And frankly, I haven't looked at the numbers for Gratiot County, but typically if we can get maybe 1,500 to 2,000 survey responses, we're typically doing pretty well. And frankly, our track record has been pretty well against those kind of numbers. But it all depends. And a lot of that comes back to how we promote it and how much outreach we can do to get to the right people, encourage them to take the survey.
Okay, I was just wondering.
We typically
Any
try to
other
shoot for a
questions?
5% target.
5% target, thank you.
Tracy, the ARP funds, we can do an assessment and the ARP funds would pay for the assessment?
I'm very confident of that. And Chris and I have talked about it a little bit. First of all, I think it fits under the infrastructure and broadband category simply because it would undertake a countywide broadband project without first doing some assessment of need. But also broadband would benefit children, especially those and children that were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic when kids were needing to do school from home and didn't have sufficient connection connectivity. It would certainly address that need. Finally, I believe that this would promote economic development. So I think it would fit under any of those three categories. I feel again, we haven't submitted anything for anything, but I feel very confident that it could work under any of those three categories.
And you're suggesting that the motion be for 52,000?
Up to 52,000.
I move that we spend up to 52,000 of ARP funds for the broadband assessment.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Lumberman. Do we have a second?
Support.
A second by Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Any further discussion or questions?
I have a couple, But first of all, I believe that everybody needs the internet. And when I look at surveys and I think, I don't know a lot about the internet that's in the county, but I started looking it up here a week or so ago, and Alma's finishing a project up. It's all private individuals who are doing this. A company called, they used to be a different company over in Stanton, Michigan. Now they're called
Point Broadband.
Point Broadband.
Mhm.
They got a $74 million grant. They're finishing Alma up in the third quarter to have it all hardwired. We have hardwire here by Wind Telecom. We have Frontier trying to do something here. We have in our area, this Point Tele is coming to the southern part of the county. They're down in Middleton. They have hardwire there. They're coming to Rainbow. They're on the south. They're on the west side or west side of Rainbow Lake. They're coming to the east side. I don't know about a survey. I think you're either going to be close to a town where they're going to hardwire you or they're not. I think Ashley's still up on internet through the air. And so I guess sometimes the survey is going to tell us that we need to have broadband out in the country. And that's going to be for a private individual has to make that decision whether he's going to make his money back and where he's going to spend his money. Kind of reminds me years ago when we didn't have call forwarding in a telephone company, and a buddy of mine was a shooter with GTE, and I'd say to him, when are we ever going to get it here? He said, I can go to Detroit and I can put it in a building and cover half the county. I can put phones into one building and cover half the county and not, I get the bill coming back from there. So I think by having a survey, most of us pretty much know where you have broadband and where you don't have broadband. And if you live in the country at the end of the road on Grenland Road in Alba Township, you're gonna be one of the last guys to get it. You're not gonna be the first one on the list because you're the last one there and the road ends in your backyard. And so I know we have this money and I have real concerns about it, but I don't know if I'd be in favor in having a survey.
Along those lines, Commissioner Smith, it sounds like you're saying maybe that Point Broadband should come and give us opinion on what
Well, I think
for them to help, maybe.
I've talked to them about my own personal needs down where I live. They are coming to our side of the lake, but then they turn around, they're gonna bill us for it. At one time, they wanted to put it in before they become Point Broadband, before they bought this company out. They wanted us to, I think it was about $450,000 to run down in our loop where I live. And I think there's probably 20 houses. They wanted us to pay the $450 to install it and pay them $50-$60 bucks a month to use it. Well, now they're coming. I mean, they're halfway on the other side of the lake and they're doing a little rainbow and they're heading to the south is what's my understanding is. But like I say, they just finishing up Alma. They got a $74 million grant to put this stuff in the ground. So I think it's going to be companies like that. I think it's going to be companies like Wind Telecom that are hardwired here in Ithaca. I don't know what we have here for. Matt, what do we have here for hardwire? We have Wind Telecom here.
Oh, you have Wintel
Yeah.
at the county.
Yeah, at the county, we're using Wintel. And we also use, Central Dispatch uses Point Broadband.
Yeah. So I think they're going to compete to come and put stuff into these communities. But as I say, if you're a guy who lives at the end of the Grenland Road in Alba Township, a friend of ours and Angie's, he's going to be the last guy to get it. He's going to be on a little dish and is up on his barn for a long time. So that's kind of my survey. It didn't cost you anything. But I think
I would like to ask the presenter. You say we're paying for a survey, but does that coincide with any federal money or state money, or how does that work?
It doesn't really coincide with any other dollars. However, going through this process, one of the things that we'll do is make you aware of the funding sources that are available for maybe the next phase of the project. The funds that companies like Point Broadband and Wind Telephone could take advantage of. And oh, by the way, Point Broadband and Wind Telephone and the other providers in Gratiot County would be involved in the survey process as well, because they really need to know where the need is to help them create their own business case to figure out where they're going to build. And you're right in that they've already had some conversation, and that project is well underway in Alma, as well as in a couple other places. And if you've got that data and you understand where specifically where those needs are across the county, then I would agree that maybe you don't need to do a survey. But the survey does give you the ability to narrow in on areas that you may not realize have got those kind of needs out there, as well as provide a lot of additional information that can be helpful to the providers.
Well, I
just
look,
kinda
I
feel
look
some
at,
of the-
I look at the county as a whole, and we have big gaps within our ability to get internet. I can only speak to the east of Ithaca. We had several school-age children and their parents would have to drive
Right.
it to either a library or a church or something like that so they could get internet. And those are the things that I'm trying to foster, is that there's the state's talking about internet broadband, the federal government's talking about internet broadband. So what do we have to do to position ourselves so that we can take advantage of those dollars?
And I guess my answer to that is that you need to have some real data to work with to give you that base so that the providers can analyze that and understand where they can go, where they can make some money, but where they can deliver service.
That's true
I
that
think
the
you hit it
cities
on
are
the head
being
right there. It's
wired at
about-
corporate expense. Excuse me. It's true that the cities are being wired at corporate expense, but that's where the county steps in my view, because the townships are not. And I think that it really does fall on us to be looking at, thinking about, and dealing with that last mile, which is, the school age kids that we're having to drive to other locations. So I think this will give us information we need, but that's what we have.
And I know that Point Broadband in particular is looking for other areas where they can further expand, not just across Gratiot County, but across other counties and in mid-Michigan here. So they're looking for areas to go to, but they need to know what those areas are, where they are, in order to make those plans. And this kind of
But I
data.
believe they're a privately held for-profit company, and they're gonna make that decision based on what they can get their returns to be. And this is in another county, but two other counties. In Shiawassee County, there's a company called Daystar.
Yep.
And they're a real aggressive small company, and they're getting larger. And they run broadband all the way down US 27, and now they're in St. John's. And they've got half of St. John's, and they're a company out of Owasso. They picked up 3 little communities along the way to help cover some of that cost. But now they're in St. John's, Michigan. I mean, one of my facilities are hooked up to them. And they're on the on the east side of Main Street in St. John's. And they've picked up the bulk of those folks. And so those companies know where they can go and make money. They can't make money at the end of Grenland Road for one customer. That guy's still going to be the last guy forever. That's all I'm saying about a survey. I think everybody needs it. And I think these companies are going to be the ones that provide it, and they're going to get money from the government to help do that. But by us having a survey, I don't know if it's going to be able to say, take a look at this and put some broadband down in wherever, pick a township, pick North Shade down there. I mean, they're far and few between in houses, and it'll be a long time before they get hardware there. Because they can come into Ithaca and they can hardwire this and get a return. And it's all about making money, I think, with these guys. And that's okay. I mean, that's the way the American way is. But by us telling them they don't have any good internet down in North Shade or in Elba, I think they know that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and you're right. And these private companies are going to go where they can make money. You're absolutely right. And they will chase federal dollars and state dollars to help them do that, to reach into areas that are going to be generally more costly than they normally would go to. And there may be, and you're also right in that there are some places that it's just not going to make practical business sense to go out and reach. So therefore, we need to look at other alternatives for how people can get connected, and things like the Starlink system, for example, the new low orbit satellite that Elon Musk is doing. That may be appropriate in some places. That gets rolled out across the state and across the country.
I think that'll be a deal.
All righty, any other questions? right, we have a motion on the floor. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
No.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
No. Motion failed.
Thank you, Dan, very much. I appreciate your helping us with the discussion tonight. So talk to you soon. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, bye-bye.
Yeah.
All righty, next,
No, we're still under the ARP category. I indicated.
go ahead.
From one to the next. Okay. Want to share a screen with you here. And if you could assure me that you are now seeing an opening slide, funding under the American Rescue Plan. Thank you. Okay, very good. Early on, of course, it was difficult not to be overwhelmed when we learned that we were going to be receiving ARP funding, about how to approach that. And then when we learned the amount that we would be getting about the same time, you of course wisely chose to await additional guidance from Treasury before getting too far into thinking about how to proceed in utilizing these funds. We now do have a great deal of information, and we've provided that to you. I have been asked by Commissioner Murphy and Commissioner Lemmerman to actually affirmatively sketch out some ideas for how you might solicit project ideas, and then how you might prioritize the project ideas that come to you. So just a few slides here because it's just kind of helpful to see things. All of these things that I'm presenting to you are merely the product of my brainstorming.
Finance.
Sorry,
It's under finance.
I'm sorry.
This was put under finance, and I was telling
I
them
think
that
that's a different presentation. This is something you're giving us, Tracy, I believe, correct?
That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
okay.
Are we all in the same spot?
I think,
Yeah.
Sorry, yes.
yes, go ahead. Thank you.
So as I was saying, what I'm providing you is simply brainstorming that I've done, things that you've suggested, asked of me, and just, ideas as they float by. But ways that you might get the word out and begin to solicit project ideas from folks. Now, of course, you attend your township meetings. I would recommend that you attend those meetings, and while they're talk about the ARP funds, that we have these things available and that we're interested in what project needs might be. It is, of course, very important that when you go to those meetings, you know what the ARP funds can and cannot be used for. I've provided that to you in a slide presentation in a past meeting, so that can serve as some guidance to you. And I plan to attend one or two meetings also based on some communications that I've had. I'll continue my discussions with the city managers in our meetings. Again, I had mentioned to you earlier that we've been talking about broadband specifically, but that I raised the question of other areas on other projects on which we might collaborate. And of course, we know that the city of Ithaca has some PFAS and some water main issues. So, that sort of thing. I might suggest that you make presentations at professional associations and clubs, whatever those might be for you. Mr. Bailey and I are members of Rotary, and I'm certain they would be interested in having one or both of us provide them some information about this. Commissioner Murphy, I believe that you had suggested in a meeting last week that kind of reviving this idea of putting together a community group. I'm not sure what you thought of what the membership might look like, but that, of course, was discussed early on. And I know that you raised the idea again last week. And so, what else? Whatever you folks might have thought of. Now, I do offer you a note of caution that if you go out and start talking with folks about this, I urge you not to promise or overpromise, simply because you can bring a project back and we might just feel like, we might have some trouble justifying that under the criteria for the ARP funds. Also, one big project could absorb much of the funding. So it would be difficult, I think, for you if you had promised something to someone and then the board as a whole decided to do a big project, let's say broadband, and found that there was not funding left for that local project that you had promised. And also do remember that any project that is selected for funding must be selected and approved by the full board. So again, a reason not to go out and make too many promises. So as ideas begin to come in, you might need to think about, well, how do we want to go about selecting and prioritizing these? Which we want to select, which not? Because I doubt you're going to receive a project idea that doesn't have some merit. And sometimes these are suggestions that come from great need. So here are some ideas for you about the guidelines that you might follow. Think of any others that might come to your mind, but consider favoring ideas that will benefit the greatest number of people or the broadest area of the county. So you might, a city might have, or a township might have a large need, but that's a local need, more one township or one city. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't necessarily select that project, but you might favor two projects sitting side by side because you are the county commissioners. You might consider what will have the broadest benefit. You might consider favoring projects that without county funds would not otherwise get done. That could be a local water main or PFAS contamination. But again, if collaborating with another governmental unit, I might suggest that you would prioritize that the unit or ensure that that unit intends to prioritize use of its own allotment on that project. So they're going to ante up some or maybe all of their allotment to address the problem. And then you folks could kick in the remainder that it might take for them to complete that project. I might suggest that as you're looking at each of the project ideas, that you consider the question of whether there are other funds or other sources of funding that might be available. And if so, maybe view those projects less favorably. So are there other funding streams for rural broadband and last mile broadband, for PFAS cleanup? Is Eagle finally going to step up and pitch in for water lines, that kind of thing? And again, selecting, prioritizing, again, I just dropped this slide as well. Do you want to assemble a community group for reviewing and recommending projects? Again, because that was mentioned by Commissioner Murphy last week. Not tonight, not today, but a future decision that you're going to make is the order in which you take these things. Do you want to consider projects as ideas come in, or do you want to consider proposals at certain intervals, and you can decide at what interval or something else? But as you make that decision, consider that some entities requesting funds might need to know if they're going to have your funding assistance in order to consider before they can even consider and proceed with their project planning. So that is what I had hoped to share with you this evening in response to the request. Maybe I began to put a little bit of meat on the bones for you for your thinking. Unless you tell me otherwise, I will proceed with my plans to be maybe talking to some township supervisors, making presentations at professional associations. I will tell you that at the last meeting, you asked me to send letters out to the township supervisors. Also in your packet is the letter that I did send to each of those individuals. And the list of names that I gave you is not the list, is not given to you to show you who the updated list of supervisors is, but only rather it was to show you to whom I sent the letter. So that concludes what I have to talk with you about, the materials that are in your packet under this topic. And I turn it back to you folks for discussion or not on that issue.
All right, any discussion or questions?
Tracy, I have a couple questions just on, I was reading about these funds and that, it's like these organizations we did last week or last meeting or whatever it was. Do we have to do a reporting on this back to the government, or there's going to be some reporting back to us, to them? I mean, is that going to pass through us, or? And that reporting, will that be done quarterly, or it didn't really specify the stuff I was reading?
Well, Chris knows what the increments of reporting are, but yes, every expenditure, our funding and our expenditures will be subject to an audit, which will be essentially reporting. And our use of the funds and the rationale and justification will be provided as a part of those audits, which is why, as we present these ideas to you, we want to have a clear understanding of, and present to you, of course, which of the permitted uses we think that it falls under, so that we're doing that thinking in advance. Those audits do not necessarily need to come back through you because there will be a timing issue. I would suggest that Chris submit those reports and we can put them on the agenda for your review. Now, if you do want reports from anyone, say CASA, I'm certain that any group would be happy to come and report to you. So that's a long answer to say, yes, there will be an audit. No, there is no requirement that those folks come back and report to you, but they can. And Chris and I gather the information as we're going that we think that will be required for the audit. And in fact, just to make my long answer longer, Chris is putting together some forms and documents for folks to complete so that all of that information will be in one place when it's time for audit. With all of that talking, did I accidentally answer your question?
You made me think of something I wasn't thinking about. I mean, I wasn't thinking about them coming back and reporting to us. I thought to the federal government that we had to
That's
do
correct.
reporting there. I
Yeah.
mean, the reporting would come, I don't know if they had to report to the government what they're doing with it, or if they would report to the administration here and we would report to the government what's been doing with those funds.
We
With the time-
submit reports to the government, just as with every funding stream, with every grant. We have to
Right.
provide reports that tell them how we've spent the money and justifying it. We are required to do the same with the ARP funds, and it goes directly to Treasury. So
Yeah, and my understanding is it's more than a one-time report. I mean, if you.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So, but Chris has the schedule, this,
Yeah.
in this way, this is not new for us. We just determine what kind of reporting they need, in what form, at what interval, and our financial team led by Chris takes care of that. Chris, anything I've left out that you would add?
Well, I was going to touch on this in the finance meeting, but you've both brought it up. For example, since we will be funding CASA's daily activities for the next several years, CASA will need to report to Gratiot County on a quarterly basis, and we will need to monitor their expenditures to make sure that they are within the grant's guidance, and then provide that information to the auditors. So yes, while we're reporting that information to the feds, whoever we pass this money along to, they also have to report that information to us.
They give us the information we need to report to the feds, but it's clear, and from the beginning what they're using the money for. We present that to you, and we are linking, using CASA as an example again. We're linking their financial people up directly with Chris, so that line of communication is there.
Any other questions?
I just seen somewhere in our packet that you had said this is the time of the year that we have department heads looking at big projects or big things they needed done, and I think those are, when those things come in, I don't know what that timing is going to be, but I think those are things that we need to maybe take a look at if there's any of these funds can be used for something, for big things that need to be done in this county, I mean, for the county.
Way ahead of you there, if I may say, talked about that quite a bit. I'm not sure how we're going to be able to wiggle some of those projects in some of our big ticket needs, like the courthouse roof, like the repair of some of the stone on the lower level of the building. These are the, even not even sure how we might secure architectural drawings of a new jail. Quite frankly, we've thought of all of these things, but to the extent that, so in short, Sam, we're certainly looking at that.
Okay.
Certainly looking at that. It's a little tougher to wiggle that into some of the permitted categories.
I guess for me, I would hate to miss something that could be used that is a need, because I can drive around this building, I don't know what we need, and I don't know what the police department needs, and I don't know what they need at the drain commission or anything like that. Now that you have these department heads coming with their needs, if there's something that we could do that really makes sense, probably, and we can make this work, we probably ought to do that, I would think.
I agree with you, Sam. The department heads would be a good resource to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea if we need 4 more police cars or what we need.
Well, a couple of things I want to indicate to you. Number one, we send the note out every year to department heads at capital improvements projects planning time. The other thing I want you to know is I meet every week with most of the department heads. I meet with elected officials regularly and irregularly. I mean, I think I have a pretty good sense. Furthermore, building, facilities, grounds, that's a department that falls under my direct supervision. I meet with those folks every week. So we have lists going that are repairs, ongoing service, looking at capital improvement projects. So those lines of communication are wide open. And of course, I thought about our building first, and particularly as I've been thinking about how we might get some of the big ticket items funded. So I guess I want to reassure you that this is not a planning process that was created because of ARP funds. It's just an additional source of funding that as we think about these projects, we think if there is a way that we might utilize those funds. So, and again, to make a long answer longer, we are doing, Commissioner Smith, exactly what you're suggesting.
Great. Anyone else have anything? Then let's move on to unfinished business. We have the MERS OPED trust fund investment issue. John and Chris, I think you're probably handling this.
Yeah, I'll take that, Chuck. So out of my ignorance, I thought that I could get a prospectus and be able to take a look under the hood and see what was in the investments and kind of see what their criteria was for managing and moving funds back and forth and such. But I didn't understand that MERS is exempt from registering with the SEC because it's a governmental entity. So there's both state law or state regulations and federal regulations. MERS doesn't have to register, and MERS doesn't do prospectuses. So I think what I would want to recommend is just that we let nature take its course and go into the automatic investment. The automatic investment does have a fairly large, roughly in the neighborhood of 10% allocation to farmland, and that makes it unique from the other allocations. I really like farmland as an asset class, but I just feel like I don't have enough information to try to sell you guys into doing anything else than what MERS recommends.
What other information do you need?
Well, they don't do prospectuses. And so with a prospectus, I could understand what it's in, what the fees are, and how they move money, allocate from one to another. during times when the market is moving, but I'm not able to understand any of that.
They probably have no projections. Probably
They
just
have past performance.
past performance, but nothing to look ahead and say, really, this can be our goal. How will we get there? Nobody really managing it. It's just a matter of today pops up, this is happening in the world, probably ought to move some here.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, you gotta be with them, so you might as well be somewhere safe and
Well, somewhere that meets all their parameters for management. So I guess I'm going to make a motion that I think it's June 24th, Chris, that it will automatically slide into their recommended that recommended fund.
I believe so, yes.
Do we need a motion to allow that to happen, or it's just going to happen?
It will just happen. So you don't need a motion. I mean, inactivity is a choice to do that.
Chris, you see that way too?
I think John is a lot more qualified to look at this stuff than me, and I do agree with what he said. There isn't very much information as far as how the funds are handled or what their target allocations are. Because all of these things, they all have sliding scales on what they're going to invest in. So even though they say they're in 5% private equity now, their sliding scale could allow them to go up to 15 or 20, and we don't know that. So that's the information that John was looking for that we couldn't locate because they don't publish it. Yes, I agree with John.
Mears has to come to us, or can come to us, is when they're here, could we maybe get some of that information from them? That'd be helpful.
You probably, those guys aren't the guys investing, guys.
Yeah, that wasn't the portfolio.
Some way over,
No.
yeah, these guys.
Yeah,
They're not gonna tell you
Yeah.
anything.
I think they probably look at what the trend is and where we need to shore this up or that up. And you're
Exactly.
really there. You can't do a lot. Can't really probably do a lot.
Yeah, I believe it is what it is. It's the animal that's been stuck with, and I think John is right on the nose. I think if we just let it go, it'll slide into the regular investments. And that's where we're at right now. And we can change it down the line. I mean, we can do things, but for right now, I agree. Just let it go.
Okay, so I don't think we need anything. If no objections. All right, next, we need to move into the finance meeting. I need a motion to do that. Motion by Commissioner Smith, second.
a second.
Second by Commissioner Lumberman. Any discussion? Clerk will please call the roll.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. We're in the finance meeting.
Okay, we want to recess before we continue on. Okay. I call the meeting to order and Finance Administration report, cash balance. So why don't we look at that first?
Okay, our cash balance worksheet changed a little bit for this month. We have added the COVID recovery fund. We created a new special revenue fund to record our revenues and our expenditures related to the ARP funding that we received. You will see in May, we did get our deposit of $3.9 million. That is 50% of what Gratiot County was allotted. 12 months from the day that we were certified by the feds, they will be depositing the next $3.9 million. So we'll be getting that sometime in April of 2022. Cash balances in our general fund holding strong. Delinquent tax fund took a dip. You see it took a dip two months in a row here. We noted a transfer from the delinquent tax fund to a drain account that we just recently reversed. So this $2 million in the delinquent tax fund is about $2.5 million understated. This has since been corrected. And that will be reflected in the June report that we present to you. Does anybody have any questions on the cash balances?
Chris, so you can just, I guess I can't see that on my screen here, but so you're just gonna have a line for this money here to set in whatever, we're depositing where we're gonna get a little interest on it and where we do expenditures out of it. We can see where we're at, what our balance is there and stuff.
Are you unable to see? Am I not sharing my screen properly?
Yeah, well, I got Craig around here.
I
I was
got you.
just looking at it
Okay.
on my laptop here. I don't seem to have it there, but.
You're gonna
I don't
see
have it
the,
either.
I don't have it either in my packet.
Get to attach it.
I don't think it's on there.
Just show me the line you have, Chris. What's the
Yeah.
line on your William marker?
Oh, one above there.
Okay, 3.9, okay. So that money will sit in an interest-bearing account, and as we disperse it to like these other folks and the police radios or whatever, that'll come down and we'll have a expenditure line for that stuff.
that's correct. So when we go, I'm gonna make you turn around here in a second. So, so when we look at our revenue and expenditure
Yeah,
report, we'll have a fund 279, COVID recovery fund. We see total revenues of 3.9 million and we have 0 expenditures so far in it. So this will also be how you will track the activity of these ARP funds and these projects that you are looking at and other expenses that you are looking
okay. And then that'll set in some type of nickel interest-bearing account.
at. It is in an interest-bearing account. And
Yeah,
one of
okay.
the more unique things is the interest that we earn on these federal funds. We do not have to give back to the feds, and they do not have to follow the rules of the grant. If we earn
There you
interest
go.
on it, we can just transfer it to our general fund if that's what we choose to do.
Makes sense to me. Good. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
I apologize. I did not get that attached in there. The cash balances, that's my fault. I didn't get it in there. I'll get it out.
That's no problem at all. That's okay.
I can also print some off and deliver them once I'm done here, if anybody says that they would like that.
I would like to have a copy.
Okay, I will
Chris,
bring some in.
On this page that we're looking at right here, there's 2.5 million that is not in the delinquent tax fund, and you said it went to drains?
That is correct.
And so is it still accounted for numerically in that balance?
It is not.
Okay, so the drain fund, so if we move money to drains, it's not shown on that sheet anymore.
That is correct.
Is it showed somewhere as a receivable back to that?
No, it is not. It is an error, so it will just be corrected. Or it has been corrected. We only set up receivables when we produce a balance sheet. So receivables and payables are only recorded at year end, which is September 30th.
So we would see it if the drain fund paid half of it back, we would see it then.
If I were to run the report today, you would see the cash in
I
it.
see.
But because it was ran as of May 30th, you do not see it.
So
I'd have to run.
when we're having the July finance meeting, that you're going to remind us at that time, because we'll probably forget, but we'll see that be $2.5 million higher.
You'll see it,
For the
yes.
June. Okay,
You'll see it go from 2 million to approximately 4.5.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll continue on. Is there any other questions? Next would be the check register.
I had a few marked here, Chris. Last three numbers, 483, County of Macomb for 14,640. What's that? Yeah, that's, yeah, okay. All right, and then Spectrum printers, 10,476.26.
For ballot.
Oh, ballots, okay.
All right, you guys, you gotta let me answer some of these.
They're jumping on you, Chris.
I know it. See, we got some good employees, don't we?
Yeah. Fahey Schultz, something in roads, 11,922. What department is that?
Fahey Schultz does a lot of does the legal work for
Right.
the drain commissioner. So like,
That
they
one
draw
is
up like,
drains.
yeah, they draw up like bond documents and help them with their loans, like all those documents and things like that.
That one there is drains.
There are a lot of townships in the windmill.
Yeah.
I think I did mine on here.
I'm gonna look that one up real quick, Commissioner, just to verify.
Sheriff Morris, while he's looking that up, I see that check for $500 to the Genesee County Medical Examiner. Is that part of what we talked about?
No, that would be probably for non-conflict.
Okay. They bill us, they don't bill us monthly. They bill us every time they do something. Yeah.
Yeah, the Fahey attorney bill, that was actually 17 individual invoices that they sent us for work that they've been performing for drain in the spring.
For drains. Okay,
Yep,
great.
getting
Thank
their
you.
finances set up, getting their loans set up for the work that they're gonna do during the year. Drawing up easements and such.
Those stipend funds as MEIs are gonna come out as like be a 1099.
Oh,
And they'll be, they're not, they're just we're called to.
Well, here's another one, 17,663.86 Saginaw County Public Works.
That would also be from drain. We
Drain,
have
okay.
a drain that we collaborated on that runs through both of our counties, and we pay a percentage and Saginaw pays a percentage.
Wouldn't that was out on Meridian Road, isn't it? They own half and we own the other half of the road.
I don't get into the digging. I just pay the bills.
I only know that because of Wheeler Township.
And then one more, Isabella Bank for 199,457.74.
It was paid to Isabella Bank.
Yep. Last three numbers, 643.
I'm gonna guess that was a bond payment. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Terry, was that a bond payment? Do we have a bond payment that goes to Isabella Bank? Okay, yep, she confirmed.
Yeah, bond payment,
Yes, there were
okay.
drain bond payments. There was.
A drain too,
multiple.
okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Is there anyone else? If there's no one else, we'll continue on. Revenue and expenditures, and yes, and treasurer's report.
Okay, so what I've done is I pulled up our revenue and expenditure report for May. So we are getting very close. One more, well, once we're done with June, we'll be done with 3/4 of our fiscal year. Man, it's really flown by. I'll give you a moment to review it, and if you want to ask any questions about any of the funds or anything like that, feel free.
I have to tell you, I made little teeny checks next to things I wanted to ask about, and they're so little, I can't find them. So is there anyone else that has any questions?
Chris, anything on any of these we should be concerned about?
No, sir. Everything that I felt like was a little bit off, I brought to you when you did the budget amendments and explained them there. So I believe that we are looking very good for the year. Receiving COVID funds last year and also receiving COVID funds this year has made it so that, you know, it's as close to business as usual. We've had extra expenditures, you know, related to COVID prevention, but we've been reimbursed for those. So things I feel like are going very good when you look at it from a financial point of view.
Well, when you look at it, we're almost through 3/4 of the year and really you look at the percentage of the budget used. I really think that's, you know, maybe I didn't average it out, but you're probably 55-60% of it, you know. I think you're doing well. You only got a couple that are a little bit over.
Yeah, that's something I could do is at the bottom, I could average all of it out for you. But the general fund expenditures are a little bit understated. We have some transfers that we need to catch up on to some other funds. But we're not even going to come close, even if we were up to date on all of the transfers right now, we wouldn't even come close to 60% at the end of
Yeah.
the year.
And also, let's remember that a lot of these that are over the 50% margin and closer to 100+% are things that are paid for up front. So you're going to see some of those just by the natural course of business.
You'll have some paid on the tail end too. I mean, you know, we'll catch up, and it looks like if you're staying at this trend and you keep the tail end paid up ones, it still might be 80-85%. You know, I think you're gonna be under what we budgeted somewhat, unless we have something happen.
We were projecting about a $500,000 deficit in the general fund this year. And if I were to guess, it's probably going to turn into about a $500,000 surplus.
Yeah.
Very good. Wow, great.
And that's with putting some of the extra funds away, you know, OPEB payments again, things like that, being able to make all of that.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I apologize. I misspoke. That was our previous fiscal year. was the $500,000 deficit. I sat down with Commissioner Bunting yesterday morning and we were going over last year's budget book. I had that in my head. So as you see in the general fund here, we're projecting $115,000 surplus and it should be significant.
I thought 200,000 would be a stretch when you said 5. I figured I must have missed something. But you're more on it than I am.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, let's move on.
Treasurer's report.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, treasurer's report. I was looking where I was at. Page 22. Is Terry with us?
I
Hi.
am. Good evening, everyone. As
Yes,
you can see, I have submitted my transfer activity, my receipt distribution, and my investments. Not much changed with the investments. That isn't unusual. They usually run pretty straight throughout the year. The transfers, does anybody have any questions on those?
some of these, like the chemical bank, the interest is like 0.15%.
Mhm.
Wow, that's it. That would be TCF, right?
Yes,
Bank, they've changed,
Yes.
okay. Well, that's not very good,
no, everything,
interest, is it?
yeah, things didn't go well with the COVID.
Yeah, Terry, we're not reflecting the stimulus fund balance in these totals yet.
The stimulus fund balance?
The American Rescue or whatever we're calling it. The
No,
3.9 million we received, that
No.
isn't gonna be in your report?
no, that is not in the investment report.
Okay.
Would we be putting that into like one of the banks that would draw some interest while we're waiting to decide where the money would go?
Chris, can you speak to that?
Yeah, we just talked about that.
They what?
We just talked about that. He's gonna put it, somewhere that we can keep
I
it.
just thought we'd see it
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry, yeah.
It's currently
Like just-
sitting in our pooled account in commercial bank. Now, as far
Does
as
it-
locking it up in an investment,
Oh, no, yeah.
Oh, it's in
I think at
commercial.
this point, we'd like to keep it fluid, but Terry and I are talking, we've been looking for some options that are more fluid than locking them up in a year or two. You know, we don't want to put it in a CD.
Chris, what is the interest on that pooled account?
Terry, is there any chance you could help me with that? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know what that is right now, but I'd be glad to find out for you.
Well, the pool account is gonna be very low.
Yes,
Yes.
But the problem is, and Chris and Terry is right, we can't lock that money up because we want to dispense it. So to put it into a year, like you would normally do in a CD,
Mhm.
and to get interest off us, it's just almost impossible to do that. You've got to be able to be fluid with this money that we've been getting, and so we have to be ready to be able to use it. And so to lock it up, I think would be not prudent.
And something, you might get 50 more basis points. I don't think they're even paying a point, they're, getting 15 on some stuff here in chemical. It must have just dropped off into it, but
Mhm.
yeah, even to tie it up, I bet you don't get 50, 60 basis points.
But Terry and Chris, you're saying you're trying to look for something.
Terry, do you think you could
Could leave it liquid and make us a little more.
explain to the board what the ICS is, like you explained it to me the other day?
Yes, that's the insured cash sweep account. So that if we get more money than we should have in an account that because of the federal guarantee on your funds, then it's swept out into different funds so that we don't lose our money should something happen to the bank in the middle of the night or happen to the Federal Reserve in the middle of the night. That's what the insured cash sweep account is.
Now we can sweep cash into this account, and I believe it draws about twice as much interest as it would if we were just to keep it in the bank account. And we can sweep it back to our account within 24 hours. Now, going from 0.15% to 0.3%, it isn't a whole heck of a lot. I mean, it's not a big percentage, but when you're talking about $4 million
Right.
in a year's time, that's a position that pays for a salary. So, we're looking at options like that and how to best get it into a place to get more than what we're getting right now, basically.
That we could also use if we needed it anytime.
Right.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is when I'm thinking like even just $1 million, because we have like 3 years to be able to spend this money. And also one of the other questions I have is that I never see a credit union on here. Are we allowed to invest in credit unions? It's my understanding that they give more interest.
To invest in credit unions?
Well, I mean, like put our money into a savings, even in the credit union. Would we make more money and can the county put it in a credit union?
They're not FDI insured. They don't pay tax. That's why they pay more money and they're run by members.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you could probably put public money in those.
Okay.
Now, something like the money that you have said that you were going to give to CASA, $135,000 on October 1st of 2022 and $135,000 on October 1st, 2023. Something like that could be put away in a longer termed investment.
Project planning is fiscal planning. I mean, there's a connection there. And you make that point beautifully, Chris, using CASA as an illustration.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, we can keep bringing these projects to you ad hoc, and right now we will, but there is a connection there.
Because right now we don't know what we can invest for how long or until we know what the plan for this money is.
I come up with 395 million at 0.3% is 11,850 a year. If we didn't spend a penny, we'd get just shy of $12,000 in interest
And how much again?
on the whole 395.
Oh, no, I was thinking like, we don't want to invest the whole thing, but
Why, it's sitting liquid.
yeah.
So that's an additional $5,500 is what you're saying.
No, it'd be 11,000 if we didn't spend a penny.
Right, but over the 0.15 that we're,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It seems like in our general fund through commercial bank, we get somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $40,000. And right now we're at the levels of getting $20,000 a year. So that 0.3 might be a little bit low. We'll look into that and we'll report that to you.
Looks like your money market's paying 60 basis points. So it's, 0.60.
That still doesn't seem like very much.
It's not.
yeah, the interest rates have gone down.
There's nothing out there to do it. You're gonna invest in the guy in the corner in a brown bag or something.
Probably not advised.
Yeah.
I can speak on being a former chairman of the board at a credit union, it's National Credit Union Association.
Yeah, and see,
And that's NCUA, and it's up to $250,000 per deposit. That's what's
I don't think they can take public funds.
I don't think so either.
What do you mean by public funds? Like,
This money's public.
Somebody independent.
oh, okay,
Private individuals
okay.
or businesses.
Yeah, they just started taking business accounts. I'll bet you probably 5-6 years.
Mhm.
Credit unions did.
Okay. Well, always good to ask. Okay, we'll can go on to, is there any other questions? Go into revenue at, I was looking on the one page, I didn't realize, it's just a minute. Is there any questions on page 24 also? Otherwise, we will go on to budget calendar. Oh, significant payment for receipts, sorry. Oh, thank you, Terry. Significant payments or receipts. Page 25. I do have questions on here. Chris.
That's with Terry's stuff.
Oh, this is, okay.
What's your question, Jan?
Okay, I have a question on, it's, I don't think this is Terry's. I thought there was a page number, but there isn't.
Page 28.
No, 25. I guess it is. Okay, on page 25, it's victims' right and active.
$5.
Yeah, I just wondered what that was. What is the victim's right? Why would there be that on there for $5?
That is money, let me see.
The court fine.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
court fines. Mhm.
For $5?
Yes,
Wow,
Crime victims' rights fee.
okay.
it's money that we receipt in from the courts, Jan.
Okay, what do they do? Make payments?
No,
So
if they get money in, they receipt it in through us, and that's what you're seeing right there.
Oh, okay then. And then also service fee for the clerk for $9,580.45.
That again is money that the clerk has receipted in with us. All of this
Okay.
is money that we've taken in.
Okay. So this is money that they bring in?
Mhm.
Okay. What about the one that says sales on it?
This says what?
$11,000. Says sales, SALES. For $11,563.39.
Okay, sales. That is through the sheriff's department. I would have to look and see exactly what that is on their.
He's shaking his head, yeah.
We sold property that was abandoned or forfeited, and we sold it out through Joe Sherwood's auction service,
Uh-huh.
and that was sales generated.
Wow, okay.
We used to purchase things in the sheriff's office, such as equipment and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. And also you have one here, turbine lawsuit reimbursement for $885.76. Tib room lawsuit and reimbursement. Is that money that was given back to us or we gave it to them?
Money.
Turbine lawsuit.
Yeah,
We front the legal fees and then the local municipalities reimburse us for their portion.
Oh, okay.
So you'll
And-
see that whole report's littered with multiple municipalities receiving money in through Terry's office.
Okay. And donations, here's a donation, general fund, I would imagine, $5,481 on the next page. And I wasn't quite sure You're doing something new on this, on page 26. This is a little bit different, so I wasn't quite sure how to read it. So what you're saying, like building inspection, this is all the money that's coming in from the building inspector?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, all this is money that's coming in. And these are different, like the building inspection fund, the different line items show, like some of it's construction permits, some of it is zoning. But it's all money that's coming in through the different departments.
and this is very nice. That's why I wondered about it, because I've not seen this before. So thank you.
Thank you.
I was surprised to see how much was coming in on building inspection.
Oh, yep. Of course, that's seasonal. It doesn't happen all the time, but right now it's
Yeah.
a good time of year for them.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, we'll move on.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Terry. How's everything going, Terry?
Great.
Oh, good.
Yep, it's going very well. We just updated our county portion of the county website. So if you'd like to go on and take a look at that, we've got a new little device to scan bills when they come into the office for counterfeit purposes, because we take in a lot of money certain times a year. We didn't have anything up at the counter to that will show like watermarks and things like that. So we just purchased one of those, and that's going very well.
Have you ever had anybody bring in counterfeit money?
Not that I'm aware of, not so far, but we'll see. We'll see now. But yeah, that's exciting. And like I said, the website, and we are, I think I told you, scanning our checks to the bank now, so we don't actually have to take them physically there. So that's nice. So those are just a few of the things we've been doing on the side in all our spare time.
Okay, that's great. Okay, well, thank you. And I'm glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing in line would be the budget calendar. Oh, I'm sorry, transfers. Let's do the transfers first.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, sorry, I didn't miss that. Does anyone have any questions on the transfers? Okay, now we'll go to the county budget calendar. Does anybody have any questions? This is a calendar that will start June 15, 2021, which is now today, and then June 30th. And this will all play all the way through till October 1st, 2020.
Yep. So what this does is it maps out the target completion dates for the different portions of the budget. As you know, our budget is a fairly large document. So these are each individual steps and phases of what I would like to complete and then bring to the board for you to look at it. So in June, some of the larger items that are going to be happening, it's basically the start of the budget process. I will be sending salaries and wage budgets to the department heads for their review. What I like to do is send each department head a list of the employees that they have that are charging to that specific fund or that department. Let them confirm that that is how they will continue to be charging their salaries. I will calculate their salary information for them I will show them, what they have historically spent in the individual fund or department, and give them a suggested budget. And if they need to deviate from a suggested budget, we have that conversation. I like to get that conversation in writing, not for any type of legal purposes, but just so that I can have their explanations for why they're going to deviate from their budget, so that I can bring that to you. And then I can explain why budgets within departments change. One of the perfect examples of what you'll see with budgets changing in a department is our elections department. Now, we don't have the same number of elections every year. So that's why a budget for our elections department goes up and down every year. So in 2020, I don't even know how many elections we had. And not only did we have elections, a lot of counties had to deal with recounts, which cost additional money. So 2021, I don't know for a fact, but I'm assuming 2021 will not have nearly as many elections as 2020 did. So our budget will go down. July 6th, we want to get our goals and objectives for the next budget submitted to the board. Historically, the goals and objectives were put together with discussions with individual board members and administration. And then we bring it to the board for review and for your discussion as a whole. So if you want to adjust, add, subtract any type of goal or objective, that's the time to do it before it gets placed in the budget book. And then I will get a General Appropriation Act resolution to you so you can review that for the first time. Then throughout the month of January, we will begin completing the budgets. Department heads will be getting back with me, and we are hoping to present to the board the capital improvement projects. We've gone over these with you in the past. It is a table. Historically, we have presented a 5-year plan for capital improvements. And these meetings with individual department heads are on the books already, so we should be able to get that information to you by then without a problem. Skipping ahead a little bit, the intention is to have all the pieces of the budget under your review and presented to you by August 17th. August 3rd will be the general fund budget presentation. August 17th will be the other budget funds presentation. And then by September 7th, hopefully by then we will have all of our information that we need from our union negotiations, and the budget can be finalized and put into a budget book form. And finally, for September 21st, which is the last meeting of the commissioners for the fiscal year, hold a public hearing on the tax rates and the proposed 2021 budget. Now, the tax rates are in the budget appropriation act, so those two go hand in hand. I had the opportunity to sit with Commissioner Bunting and Commissioner Murphy yesterday morning, and we went through the old budget books, just looking at the individual pieces, explaining how it works, just a refresher course. I would like to open that opportunity up to anybody else that would like to meet remotely or in person. And for those of you that, if you don't reach out to me, I'll reach out to you, and I'd like to just give you that opportunity. Does anybody have any questions?
Chris, I just noticed one clerical error on the September 21st date. That should read 21-22, not 2021. Correct? No. Because it's next year's budget that starts in October.
Yeah, it should say 2021.
This is October 1st, 2022 also.
Yeah, yep.
Say 21.
Until September 30th, yeah.
No, the very last.
Yep, yep.
Say October 1st.
You're right.
2021, not 2022.
Hey, Chris, you talked about that you're doing union negotiations and that there's 4 unions now. Are you doing just one union or 2 unions or what? I forgot to ask you that.
I do not do union negotiations, but I believe there are 2 of them that are negotiating this year.
That's correct, Tracy here. We're negotiating sheriff's employees this year, POAM, and also the supervisors unit. If you have any questions about that, Jan, I'm happy as always to answer those if you'd like to stop by the office.
Oh, okay, thank you. No, I just wondered, I hadn't realized there was 4 unions now. I knew there was 3. And the newest one would be,
Command officers.
okay.
Command officers, that's what, 2 years
2 years
now?
ago.
Yeah, so.
Chris, I just think by putting this schedule out, it gives you a lot of opportunity to put some real easy stuff that's going to be pretty fixed away in the beginning, and you're not trying to gather it all up at the end. And like you say, we have union negotiations. When you get down to that last meeting or two, it gives you plenty of time to make some adjustments. I just think it's a good way to do it. And I know you've been doing it the last few years, and I think it works real well.
Have they started the union negotiations yet?
So
No. So do you think they'll be done by the time the 1st of October?
Yes. The process, Jan, is that we are getting insurance quotes now for health insurance for next year. We meet with a health insurance committee that's comprised of union members, management members, elected officials. Our folks from 44 North come by and lay out the options. As a group, we make a decision which plan we prefer for the next year, so that when we go into union negotiations, those issues have been decided. Then we actually sit down with the union representatives. That usually happens in, I don't know, late July would be nice, but it always seems to be August. We've done pretty well in getting through those in a few hours, certainly a single day. I have, all of this starts with a notice of intent to negotiate that the unions are required to provide us. I've received that for one of the unions and not for the other. I'm sure that will come at some point. Any questions about that process?
One question is usually one of the commissioners or a couple of commissioners sit in on that. Was that one of us, you, the chair, the vice chair, or the chair of the board of finance?
That has tended to go along line, not necessarily by positions that you hold, but those with experience in negotiations. And that is very important. It's my understanding we had a very good crew in the past. Prior to my arrival, I think you did it in a number of different ways. I know that you did have legal counsel sometimes involved. So there are a lot of ways that can be done. The most important thing is that you have some folks in the room with some experience in doing this, because it is, it's something that requires some understanding of that process.
Yeah, I think one of us would like to sit in on it, just to sit in and see how it goes, how the whole thing process. I did years ago, back probably 15 years ago, but I wouldn't mind just sitting in on a couple of them just to see how things go, and just not to be putting in any information, but just to learn, I guess, the learning.
problem is if you have 2 commissioners and then you sit in, it becomes a quorum.
Well, I don't think it'll be two commissioners, just a commissioner. Is that what you mean?
It's been two.
Has it been two? Okay, well, two commissioners, good. So anyway,
This is something that the chair and I had begun a discussion about. We'll continue that, and we have some time on that yet.
yeah. It's fine if Mr. Murphy wants to sit in on it. I just would like to sit on maybe one time, just for the experience.
All right, well, like you said, I believe we have some time to work on that.
Yeah, it's not anything that's. Okay, continuing on. American Rescue Plan.
I recently had the opportunity to sit in my Governmental Financial Officers Association's presentation on the American Rescue Plan funding. I'm not going to go through these slides. I'm going to let you go through them if you would like to. There's a few things that I learned and that I wanted to just build on the information that Tracy has been sharing with you. One of the unique things that for this grant that I have not seen for other ones is the period of availability, the time that you have to spend the money. Now, it's always been pretty clear cut. It's good for expenditures between March 3rd, 2021 and December 31st, 2024. However, something that I learned is that if you commit these funds by 12/31/24, you have until 2026 to actually spend the money. Now, let me give you an example of what committing these funds would be. Let's say, and I know this is just an easy example. I'm going to use broadband. Let's say you enter into a contract with somebody to do broadband, but they are only halfway done at the end of 2024. But because we're in that contract, they have until 2026 to actually get that work done, and we can pay them as they get the work done, but they can go through the year 2026. I think this is a very important thing to keep in mind as we try to spend as much of this money in our community that we can, that it is not a drop dead date for the end of 2024. We just have to be under contract with somebody. Another bullet point that I learned, we cannot use these funds as match to leverage additional federal funds. So, for example, Jennifer Wood came to you and she asked for approval for the front of the court grant, which covers 67% of her budget. We cannot use ARP funds for the other 33% because that would be the match. We cannot use ARP funds to get additional federal funds. One of the approved uses of this is to make up for the loss of revenue due to the pandemic. Now, the way that they make us calculate if we've had a loss over the past couple of years or this year or going forward, Gratiot County will not qualify for that. The reason Gratiot County will not qualify for that is because we've had an increase in our wind turbine tax revenue. Well, up until this past weekend when we got that judgment, but maybe I will revisit that once we see what this legal settlement ends up. But as is right now, we do not qualify to use ARP funds to make up for any type of loss of revenue that we may have experienced. And last but not least, I shared this with you. I did confirm that when we do pass money on to other entities to use, whether they're other local municipalities or not nonprofits or anybody else, we do need to monitor how they spend that money. I'm working on putting together a standard application for non-Gratiot county, I guess it would be not entities, but Like Central Dispatch, they're not going to have to fill out an application because we maintain their financial records. But somebody, if we were to pass money on to a city of Ithaca or Elma or Township or CASA, I would ask them to fill out an application that will be signed by them and it will also be signed by our board chair. Then they will be required to provide quarterly reports on how that money was spent. And then provide us with a final report. And if they did not spend the entire allocation, they will be required to refund it back to us so that we can report that, or so that we have record of it when the feds come looking. Those are the items I wanted to highlight. If you have any questions, please let me know. Also, if you have any questions going through the slides, feel free to email me. And I apologize. I need to step away for just 1 second.
I do believe Chris was done with his presentation, however.
Tracy, Chris spoke of that extension through 2026. Would that be through calendar 2026 or through our fiscal year?
That'd be through calendar.
Calendar.
I think he was finished.
He's back.
Sorry. Daydreaming a little. Okay. Is there any comments from the public?
Does that take us out of Finance Committee?
Yeah, I think we need a motion to go back in general session if we're done.
Yes.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, second.
Second.
Oh, wait a minute, Jan, you're
Oh,
doing
I'm
this.
sorry. Yeah, I was. Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
We gotta do.
Oh, I'm
roll
sorry.
call with
Roll
George.
call.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting.
Yes.
All right, we're back in general session. Chris, you see anybody online to make comments?
Matt?
Matt, I'm sorry.
We need a motion.
Oh, yeah, we do need a motion to approve the financial report.
I approve the expenditures. Make a motion to approve the expenditures.
All right, motion by Commissioner Bailey. We have a second. Support. Support by Commissioner Smith. Clerk will call the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes, motion passed. Now, Matt, anybody online you see?
Nope, we don't have anybody connected in right now.
All righty. And if no one has anyone else and without objections, we're adjourned.